let's talk about the most troublesome possible thing. So that would be women. So it's very frequently the case for me that if I say anything about how young women might conduct themselves so that their lives would turn out less than dreadfully, let's say, that's when I get the most caustic and like vicious YouTube comments.
Is that real? No.
Absolutely.
It's the opposite for me.
Well, let's delve into that. Well, you're a female talking to females, and so that has something, because the comments that come my way are often variants of something like, what's this old white guy doing telling us what to do with our bodies? It's like... Well,
I meant more than that when I talk about both genders, obviously, but when I talk about men and what I think they could do, that's when I get the most vitriol.
I see. Okay. Yeah. So there's probably just a cross-sex thing going on.
I'm sure, yeah.
Okay, so you're 23. You're married.
22.
22, sorry. Yeah. Oh, I don't know why I thought you were 23. Now I'm making you older than you are. 22, you're married.
Yes.
You have a well-developed career.
Yes.
Okay, and I presume you're relatively pleased about both those things.
Very pleased.
Do you have plans for a family?
Yes.
How soon?
I would love it as soon as possible.
How are you going to manage it?
It's been a lot of what we've been working through right now. My mom is going to move to be near us. Yeah. Which could not be more grateful for. And my husband truly turned his life upside down, turned his career upside down to make sure that he could be flexible for our family, so that he could balance when I am traveling or when he's traveling for work, then I can be at home. But he is running his own business now, which I think he had always wanted to do. And then when we started dating and got really serious, I think he realized, like, this is something I want to do for our family. I think it pushed him in that direction.
Okay, and so why did you decide to get married so young? I guess it's not, by historical standards, it's not necessarily
in current standards.
How old is your husband?
He is 30.
Okay. So, all right. So you married someone who was, so the optimal gap between men and women for age cross-culturally is something approximating 4 years, right? So women prefer men who are older.
Yes.
This is something to keep in mind when you're looking at, I think, when you're looking at the political opinions of men and women, young men and women. I don't think the right groups to compare are men and women of the same age. I think the right groups to compare are women who are 4 years younger than men and see where they're headed, right? Because, well, for the reasons I just laid out, the peers of young men aren't women their same age or older. Their peers are 4 years younger.
I completely
And so my suspicions, and you're talking to, because you're on YouTube, you're talking to a lot of young men, but I think, first of all, where the men go, the women will follow. I think that's how things work fundamentally.
And I completely agree with that gap. And then I think ours made sense, being a little bigger because I, owned a home. I'm, already had graduated college. I had a successful, stable career. And so in terms of our stages of life, we were completely compatible and on the same page, as well as our values and where we were emotionally and the things that we wanted in the timeline that we want. But I chose to get married because I believe that it is the best foundation that I could have given my life. I think faith as well.
That? Why not single, free, sex in the city girl? No, I'm dead serious. Why not that? I mean, you had the opportunity, right?
Yeah. It sounds just awful.
Why?
It sounds lonely because I crave companionship.
Why not one person after another then?
What's the meaning in that? It doesn't, and that's not
diversity.
Fulfilling. I have no desire for it. I wanted to get married because...
Do you think that there are women who have a desire for that?
I'm sure.
Well, are you? I'm not so sure.
Well, I'm not so sure. I think that they tell themselves that they do, but I don't think that intrinsically we're not wired for that. I mean, if you go back to, I was talking about this on my show recently, if we think of anthropologically, biologically, men are designed to be able to sow the seeds, to be able to go around. They can have as many children with as many women as possible. Women, it takes 9 months to grow a baby. We have one egg every month. And it's like we protect that. And I think just from that very primal point of view, we are intrinsically designed to seek out one protector that can often...
I should offer a correction to that characterization of men. I think that's more radically true of immature men than it is radically true of immature women. And I think the reason for that is the reason you just outlined, which is because women pay a way higher price for sex, that even if they're immature, they're not going to be tilted as far in the direction of short-term mating strategy, let's say. I don't think that's intrinsic to the male nature. I really don't. I think it's intrinsic to the immature male nature. And here's part of the reason I think that. So I studied antisocial criminal behavior for a long time, like 15 years, a long time, especially in terms of its development across the lifespan. And so one of the correlates of delinquent, antisocial, and then criminal behavior for men is multiple early short-term sexual partners, right? So it's associated specifically with a criminal bent.
Interesting.
Okay, well, but there's more to it too. So imagine that there are some men who are tilted more towards long-term relationships and stable responsibility, let's say, that goes along with that. And there are some men who are tilted more towards love them and leave them, short-term, excitement, oat sowing, hedonism. Okay. Well, we know the personality characteristics. So the personality characteristics of the men who preferentially prefer one-night stands, they're dark tetrad types. They're narcissistic. It's all about them, even though they haven't done anything to deserve it. They're psychopathic, so that makes them predatory parasites. They're Machiavellian. They use their language and their actions to manipulate for short-term benefit, and they tilt towards sadism. And so I think all things considered, as I said, immature men and immature women, they tilt towards hedonic, immediate gratification. It's a hallmark of immaturity. And so there will be more short-term maters among men because women are punished brutally for their sexual misbehavior. But thinking that that's an intrinsic part of masculinity, that's a mistake. It's not. It's an intrinsic part of immature masculinity.
It's a much better way to put it.
Right. It's definitely a better, well, and this is something young women need to know, because when they're allowing themselves, let's say, to be exploited sexually, they're facilitating the dark tetrad types, right? They're facilitating the psychopaths, the narcissists, the Machiavellians. Worse, they're facilitating the sadists. And so why not have a short-term relationship with a man who's interested in short-term relationships? The answer is, well, is that the sort of person that you want to be associated with?
No.